Back for Nikishin to Aho. Aho, top of the circle, scores! A power play goal! Sebastian Aho! And Carolina has tied it at 1. Advantage at center. Bussi gets across and makes the save, robbing Lafreniere. Miller gets it across for Chatfield. Out of front, they score! There's your net front presence, and the Canes have tied it at 2. Chance here, Ehlers. He'll get it to Aho. Back for Ehlers. Aho, top of the rings. Deflected. Game over! Jackson Blake with the redirect, and the Hurricanes win it in overtime.
I can't find anything incorrect about that statement. The Hurricanes did, in fact, win this one in overtime. Hi, everyone. It's the Canes Corner Podcast. We are brought to you by the Aluminum Company of North Carolina. If it is for the exterior of your home, you can find it at the Aluminum Company of North Carolina on Hamlin Road in Durham. No place like it. Sammy Hanna and his crew do a great job. You should check them out for all of your exterior home improvement needs. Trying to figure out where the mic looks the best. Do I want it below? Do I want it above? I don't know. It doesn't really matter. You can hear me either way. Frankly, my wife says I don't need a microphone. I'm trying to get the there's a little bit of a glare in the background with one of the spotlights here at Lenovo Center, where I am after a Hurricanes 3-2 overtime win over the New York Rangers. We're going to do shout-outs. We haven't done shout-outs in a while. We're going to do them, promise. But I just want to start with this. This was exactly what the Hurricanes deserved tonight. Would have been a shame to not get it, right? Carolina was better than the Rangers. Rangers had their moments. I thought Carolina's second period was kind of a struggle. I don't think either team was great in the second period. But I thought Carolina's struggles left the door open, and then you got the freaky bounce off of Jalen Chatfield that went right to Johnny Brodzinski, and his easy, put away into basically an empty net had Carolina trailing 2-1. And I thought, my gosh, as well as Carolina has really played, really dominated the first period, 1-1. Carolina runs the risk of not getting anything out of this. And then we got midway through the third period, and Carolina still hadn't gotten even. And I was just, I was a little worried that Hurricanes were going to get out of here with nothing, because honestly, they deserved everything, I thought, out of tonight. Quickly, the scoring. Gavrikov on the power play, basically 100 seconds in. It was a terrible start in terms of giving up juicy scoring chances. Thought there were 3 or 4 grade A scoring opportunities for the Rangers, like in the first 5 minutes. Brandon Bussi made the saves, but, Carolina was kind of fortunate. Not only did you give up 2 back-to-back, Willie Cooley had a 2-on-1, 30 seconds in. Then Bussi beat Noah Laba, but Nikishin was called for the penalty, which led to the Gavrikov goal. Then there was a pass across to Connor Sheary on a 2-on-1. That it was a saucer pass, and Sheary just missed it. If that's another player, if that's Panarin, if that's Trocheck, if that's Zibanejad, that's a goal. Carolina was just a sieve in the first 5 or so minutes. But when Brandon Bussi had to make the saves, he did. Getting used to that. It's 13-1-1 in 15 NHL starts. 13-1-1. I don't even know what to make of this. I mean, I'm completely flabbergasted by what is transpired. And we're going to talk about goaltending tonight for a little bit because of recent events with Pyotr Kochetkov, and we will get to that. But anyway, Gavrikov made it 1-0. Sebastian Aho equalized on the power play. It's a 5-on-3 power play. But, hey, they're shooting the puck. 5-on-3, you're supposed to score unless the goaltender is just making all sorts of crazy saves. Aho's wrist shot beat Shesterkin, who was leaning around the other way, trying to see a shooter, and Aho went far side high. Great net front presence from Andrei Svechnikov, who again plays a great game tonight without getting on the score sheet. A tremendous development over the last month, more than a month really, has been the consistently good, impactful play of Andre, even when he's not scoring goals. Andre went 13 games without a goal and had 10 assists and was a very good player in that stretch. He continues to be. It's good to see Aho and Svechnikov get each other finally. It's good to see. We're going to talk about that line as well tonight. So Gavrikov made it 1-0. Aho tied it. Brzezinski, we already talked about that goal. That makes it 2-1 with 7 minutes to go in the second period. And then Jordan Martinook at 9:11. So just before the midpoint of the period, he's in front. Great hardworking shift. Will Carrier doesn't get anything in terms of a scoring point. But without Will Carrier, the Hurricanes do not get this even. His hard work along the wall on the left keeps the puck in, keeps the play alive. Ultimately, Miller to Chatfield to the front, and somehow it gets through, and that makes it a 2-2 game. We go to overtime. There were some moments. Willie Cooley again had another opportunity, and Brandon Bussi was there, man. It continues to be a story. And then Jackson Blake with his first overtime game winner. The Jackson Blake PPOTGWG. And the Hurricanes get their second straight win. And they go back. Well, they were on top of the Eastern Conference. Now they're 2 points clear of Detroit, although Carolina's got, I believe, 3 games in hand on the Red Wings. So Canes win it 3-2. All right, you got what you deserved today. I mean, all of the numbers, and it wasn't like Carolina had, oodles of grade A scoring chances, but at 5-on-5, Carolina doubled the shot attempts for the Rangers. Scoring chances, this is all according to the natural stat trick, which can be a little wonky, but when the numbers are this glaring, it ain't that big a deal, right? Scoring chances, 36-17 in favor of Carolina. High danger chances, 13-8. And keep this in mind. Mention the second period where Carolina had a hard time getting the puck out of their zone. The Rangers didn't generate a ton of great chances in that period in spite of Carolina's deficiencies at clearing the puck out, but they still got 5. So 5 of their grade A scoring chances came in a second period. They had 1 in the first, 2 in the third. Carolina just shut it down in the third period. They were so dominant. And overall for the game in all situations, the Hurricanes, high danger, 17-11. Scoring chances, 45-22. I mean, it really was. Carolina was the better team. And it was good to see. It was good to see Carolina getting to their game, especially after those first 5 minutes, which could have gone completely sideways. But this is what happens when you stick to what you do well. And that's what the Hurricanes did tonight, maybe better than anything. And I think Jackson Blake talked about it in the postgame show. Was it Blake or Aho? Aho talked about it in the postgame where he went, yeah, we just stuck to what we do. And Blake talked about it, I believe, in the one of the intermissions. Stick to what you do. The way you play. Stick to the game plan. Because really, that's what happened in Florida and in Tampa and here against Florida, is that you strayed from what you did. Part of that is Florida was in Carolina's heads a little bit. And as I said the other day, I do believe that had Jordan Martinook been in the lineup that first game in Florida, the Canes win that. And I don't know what happens against Tampa, but I will say this. They don't blow leads if Martinook's on the ice. They don't look as fragile because that's what Jordan Martinook helps to avoid. So, and he obviously, the fact that he gets the goal tonight is kind of poetic because you knew, even though the captain's line, which I am now calling mac and cheese, if Rod Brindamore is going to call them comfort food, then I am calling them mac and cheese. I'm not even a mac and cheese guy, but I know that's comfort food, right? Fried chicken. That's comfort food. What else? A grilled cheese and tomato. A grilled cheese sandwich with tomato soup. That's comfort food, right? Actually, I think Jordan Staal is tomato soup with a grilled cheese sandwich. Anyway, I think there's a radio bit somewhere in there. But I said this, like, I wouldn't call them dopey videos, just like little, period updates on TikTok. I don't even know what my TikTok handle is, but if you're a Canes fan, you've probably seen them. Anyway, it was early in the period, in the third period, and I posted a minute-long video on TikTok basically saying, look, Carolina's a goal down still. I like the way they've played in the early part of the period, and it hasn't been a great night for that line, for Staal, Martinook, Carrier. They had not been as potent offensively, keeping the puck in the offensive zone as they normally are. They defended a lot. I believe they were on the ice for the Brudzinski goal. But I did think that if Carolina was going to draw even in the game, it was going to come through mac and cheese. And don't you know, maybe a minute later it did. I spoke it into existence, people. Thank me later. But that line, which never changes, ever changes, that's what that line did. They got heavy. Carrier makes great play on the left half wall to keep the puck in. And then ultimately, Martinook wins the battle in front with Gavrikov, and the puck leaks through Shesterkin, and Carolina now is even at 2. And then your only mission at that point was to not screw it up and allow a fluky goal. And Brandon Bussi did have to make the save on Willie Cooley late, maybe with 3 or 4 minutes to go. And that was a great opportunity that Cooley came in, and Bussi denied it. It's just really amazing. Every time I watch and he keeps doing these things, I just go, man, maybe Carolina deserved a goaltending break. There's a lot of goaltending, a lot of finding the goaltender that is luck. You might think that Igor Shesterkin was a first-round pick. You would be wrong. He was not. He was a middle-round draft pick. 3rd or 4th round, something like that. Like, most of these guys are not high draft picks. It takes a fair amount of, you got to be a good scout. You got to know what you're looking for. But it takes a fair amount of good fortune to come up with your goaltender of the future. I have no clue what the future holds. Heck, we're not that far away from Brandon Bussi being allowed to sign a contract. Once we get to Thursday, Bussi is eligible to sign a contract. This is where I'm glad I'm not the GM. I have no idea what you're going to pay Brandon Bussi. No clue at all what you're going to pay Brandon Bussi. We'll talk more about him in a second. Shouts to Southport, North Carolina. My man Mikhailev in Adelaide Hills. Thank you very much for joining us. I think it might already be the new year. Happy New Year to you. Chesterfield, Virginia. Crib, Wilton, North Carolina. Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Really? Nice. Good luck. Good luck in the, what are we in the quarterfinals, right? Good luck in the quarterfinals. Pittsburgh, North Carolina. To the top left corner of the state of North Carolina. Ashe County, where it's apparently windy. It was windy on the ranch today as well. Shouts to Raleigh. Shouts to Buffalo, although in Buffalo, where you're snowed in, you're a Raleigh guy. Shouts to Denver, or Denver is here. I don't know. And I think it was Michael in Zurich, or your son is in Zurich. One of the two. I'm trying to remember everything now, but I thank you for the kind words, and I thank all of you for joining us. I'll even thank the negative guy. You know who you are. You know who you are. It's all good, man. Everything we do here is fun. It's just hockey. It's not, it's not, splitting the atom. All right, let's get to a couple of other things here. We'll go to Brandon Bussi. And this really ties into the conversation about Pyotr Kochetkov and injuries. So at practice on Sunday, today's Monday, right? Practice on Sunday, Pyotr Kochetkov was in the starter's crease. He was going to be the starting goaltender tonight, and Carolina was going to roll with Kochetkov and Bussi. I'm pretty confident that it was going to be a steady diet of those two until further notice, and maybe there would be a pocket to get Freddie Anderson a couple of starts here and there, but for the most part, it was going to be the Bus and Pyotr. And a birdie told me, by the way, a birdie also told me today that Seth Jarvis was on the ice skating with the reserves before tonight, like early this morning, because Carolina did not do a morning skate. But Seth Jarvis was on the ice this morning, which means I don't anticipate we're going to see him this week. But he's skating, so he can't be that far away. Like, I don't think we're talking about after the Olympic break. I think we're probably talking about before the Olympic break. And that would be a good thing. I think the same for Jacob Slavin, who I saw up here the other night. And I think he'll be back. I think we'll see Slavin maybe we see him at the end of the week. I don't know. He won't be cleared to play in the back-to-backs. Carolina's got 5 games this week. It was tonight, tomorrow in Pittsburgh, or Tuesday in Pittsburgh, depending on when you're listening to this. Thursday here on New Year's Day against the Canadiens. Then Saturday here against the Colorado Avalanche. At last check, they were leading. Natchez and Drury each had goals in the game. If Burns scores, we got a Hurricanes trifecta. And then Carolina is at New Jersey on Sunday to wrap up a very, very hectic week. Keep this in mind. With the Olympic break coming, I think the last game is February 5th. Hurricanes are going to be cramming a ton of games between tonight, really Saturday, and the 5th of February. A ton of games. And maybe now is not the best time to have another rash of injuries. Anyway, Kochetkov was supposed to play tonight. But he came in this morning and obviously said something that he couldn't go and that he wanted to have surgery. It's a hip problem. It's not a knee. I thought it was a knee. That's what happens when everything is vague. But it's a hip problem. He's going to have surgery, and he's probably done for the year. That's what Rod Brindamore said before the game to me, and he said it to the assembled media as well, that it's probably a season-ending thing. And that puts Carolina in this position. You've got Brandon Bussi, and you've got Frederik Andersen. And yes, I know Caden Primo is in the minor leagues in the American Hockey League, and his last 4 starts have been very good. He's allowed a combined 5 goals in his last 4 starts. 3 of those end up being overtime or shootout losses. But he is 1-0-3 in those 4 starts, and he has played much better. But I don't anticipate them going to Caden Primo unless Bussi or Andersen are hurt. But now with Kochetkov out, Andersen will be in rotation. What I think we're going to see is Anderson not start every other game, but maybe as the schedule allows. Look, there's a ton of back-to-backs. As the schedule allows, Bussi will play the majority of the starts. But I don't think we're looking at anything more than a 60-40% split. Like Freddie will play tomorrow in Pittsburgh. I'm almost positive. And then we'll get Bussi again on Thursday against Montreal. I think we probably get Bussi again Saturday against Colorado and Anderson on the road in New Jersey. Or maybe the Colorado game isn't that important in the grand scheme of things because the Devils game is a division game, and we get Anderson, kind of the swap in rotation, and Anderson plays Saturday, and then Bussi goes on Sunday against New Jersey. I don't know how they're going to work it, but Anderson is going to get his opportunities to work his way back to the standard that he probably has for himself. And even though it has not been good, Freddie has not been good at all this year. I mean, Freddie was good last year. So I still think there's a good goalie in there somewhere. But when you lack confidence, you lack confidence. Somewhere, he'll get it back. I hope. Otherwise, Carolina's in the market for another goalie, which they might be anyway. And it probably would be wise to get another goalie if Kochetkov is out for the year. But you've got Kochetkov who's out. Anderson now has to play, and I'm sure he will play tomorrow or Tuesday in Pittsburgh. But it's not the only injury. Still without Slavin. We already talked about Jarvis, Shayne Gostisbehere. Like, I couldn't decide. I went with Svechnikov. But between Svechnikov and Gostisbehere, they were awesome against the Red Wings a couple of nights ago. And then we get here, we hear that the Hurricanes have called up Gavin Bayreuther, and I knew that Gostisbehere had not practiced yesterday. I was under the impression that it was simply maintenance. It's basically what they said. Yeah, just giving him the day off. But he's tweaked a little bit of a groin injury at the end of the game against the Red Wings. So with as many games as Carolina is playing, here's my guess. He didn't play tonight. I don't think he plays tomorrow, Gostisbehere. And I think they're hoping that by Thursday, it's calmed down to the point where he can go. But if you don't have to play him, or if he's not 100%, don't play him. Maybe you get away with it against Montreal, who, by the way, is, I think, second or third. Montreal is third in the Atlantic Division. 46 points in 38 games, plus 8 over NHL 500. So that's obviously a good team, and they are dynamite offensively. You're going to want your best defenseman. Anyway, there's another injury that Carolina's dealing with, and it just doesn't stop. The Hurricanes have already lost well over 100 man games to injury. Now, if you took out Charles Alexis Legault from the equation here, you eliminated him from adding up man games lost, because technically, yes, he was on your roster when he got hurt. But eliminate him from the equation. You're still talking about over 100 man games lost to injury. Jarvis, who's going to miss at least a few more, 4. Gostisbehere, 10 and counting. Staal, 3. Miller, 8. Robinson, 6. Martinook, 3. Carrier, 7. Kokoniemi, 13 or 14. Chatfield, 7. Slavin, 32. And now Kochetkov. So for guys who you figure were going to be part of your at least top 2 goalies and your top 18 skaters, it's a lot of man games lost to injury. Nobody cares. Nobody's holding a benefit for you. Everybody's got issues. You got Florida with Barkov and Kachuk although Tkachuk has started to skate. The Rangers played here tonight without Adam Fox and JT Miller. So everybody's got injuries. So there are no excuses. The Hurricanes have been good enough to be in this position with all the injuries. Not going to use it as an excuse. Now, talk to me when we get deeper into the season and the playoffs. If you're also missing, some of the guys that they are missing, and they obviously need Jacob Slavin back, but they're dealing with it, and this is why the depth that you've got in your system, the Joel Nystroms of the world, are so valuable. I know statistically it looked like Nystrom and Riley were good tonight. I thought they were okay. I thought they each had issues playing the puck in their own end, which extended zone time for the Rangers. But positionally speaking, I thought they were both excellent. I thought Nikishin and Walker were very good again. I loved me some Keandre Miller tonight. I thought Keandre played one of his better games. Forget about the assist on the Martinook goal. I thought he made great stick plays defensively. I thought he was, again, because of his reach, his ranginess, as long as he is in good position, he's going to make a lot of plays. But I thought that he made a play in the third period. Andrei Svechnikov didn't make a ton of mistakes tonight. But Andre played a backhand pass into the high slot that ultimately eluded everybody, and it was going to go the other way. And Miller, with his 6'5" frame and probably a 7'1" reach, was able to reach back, play the puck out of harm's way, and completely eliminate what would have been an odd man chance in a 2-2 game. And I thought Miller had many, many good defensive moments tonight. So I thought it was a big game for him. And I just remember watching the warm-up, knowing that, man, we might see 25. That's Bayreuther's number. We might see 25 in this game, and I didn't want to see that. Not because I didn't think Gavin Bayreuther could play, but you're already down to defenseman number 7 and 8 in Riley and Nystrom. Bayreuther would be at best 9. And you got the Rangers, who on the road are a completely different team than they are at home. Although this is now out of a 6-game road stretch on the road, the Rangers are 2-3-1. And if you kick out one of the wins, which was a 7-3 win in Washington, the Rangers have scored in regulation now 4 goals. 4 goals? 4, yes. Shutout twice, 1 goal twice, and 2 goals in regulation tonight. So, they have been a little bit offensively challenged tonight. They had their opportunities, but Brandon Bussi was too good tonight again. And it does bring us back to the bus. He didn't practice yesterday, at least not with the group. He didn't know he was going to play until, my guess, sometime late morning. And the first thing he sees is a 2-on-1 with Will Cooley. And then he sees Noah Laba coming in all alone. Nikishin slashed him and went to the penalty box, which led to the Gavrikov power play goal. We had the pass across to Connor Sheary that probably should have been a goal. Bussi made a couple of saves on Trocheck and a couple of other players. Who was it? 94. What's his name? Perreault. Gabe Perreault. I mean, he made save after save after save. There wasn't a ton of work, but it seemed like a lot of the work was heavy lifting. 6 or 7, grade A scoring chances, some other good chances to score. You know what we didn't see a lot of tonight? We didn't see a lot of Mika Zibanejad with chances to score. Artemi Panarin with chances to score. Vincent Trocheck with chances to score. We saw Cooley. I thought the Rangers' depth players were very good tonight. We saw a lot of that. But every time Bussi was needed to make a save, what he did to Alexis Lafreniere in a 2-1 game, pass across, it's a goal. Bussi gets the pad to it. Then on Willie Cooley late when it's 2-2. Makes a great save. I'd like to say we're getting used to it. I'm not sure I'm ever going to get used to it. It is just remarkable that we're still watching it with Brandon Bussi. Because keep this in mind. If Kochetkov doesn't start the season hurt, now, do they probably claim Bussi anyway? Maybe. But if Kochetkov doesn't start the season hurt, I don't know that Brandon Bussi gets the opportunity. Anderson wasn't playing poorly at the beginning of the season. If Kochetkov starts the year, his hip's okay. We might not have Brandon Bussi. Where would this team be without him? Couple of very quick things, then we'll get out of here because we've already gone over the allotted time. It's not allotted. I can go as long as I want, but we try to do these in 30 minutes. Alexander Nikishin, 24 minutes and 17 seconds. I don't know how many games in a row it is where he's leading Carolina's defensive core in ice time. 6 shot attempts, 3 hits, 2 block shots. Sean Walker, 23 and a half minutes, 5 attempts, 3 of those on goal, a couple of takeaways, 1 block shot. Jalen Chatfield played 19 minutes tonight. Keandre Miller, almost 23 minutes tonight. He had a hit 4 attempts, but I thought he was excellent all night long. He was my defensive player of the game. And I thought, and I said this to Corey Lavalette in between the second and third periods, I kind of anticipated Rod Brindamore just juggling the lines a little bit. Even though the Hurricanes were the better team, and in the first period generated a ton of scoring chances, just only got the 1 goal at 5-on-3. They didn't generate much in the second period, and the second period was a little ugly. And I wondered, are we going to see a line change? And I thought flipping Stankoven and Blake on their 2 lines might be worth it. But Blake with Aho and Svechnikov, which I think we'll at some point see. Well, no, we'll see with Jarvis with Aho and Svechnikov, but who knows? I didn't see Eric Robinson going from the 4th to the 1st line. But I say this all the time. In short bursts, you can get away with a Robinson, a Hall, a Martinook, playing with elite players, playing with your best. Robinson's speed, his physicality, his tenacity was awesome in the third period. I thought Aho and Svechnikov were going all night long, so for me, you didn't need to ignite them. But I did think that Stankoven was not at the top of his game tonight. And I thought Carolina needed a little bit of a spark, and I think Robinson provided it. That line started the third period. They started the third period with 2 great scoring chances. Didn't go. I get it. But that line was really good for me in the third period. And what it also allowed to happen was this. Jesperi Kotkaniemi, after, I think, 1 shift where Stankoven moved back to the middle between Blake and Ehlers to get that line going again. Carolina had a couple of offensive zone faceoffs, and Brindamore sent Kotkaniemi out to take him. And Kotkaniemi, by the way, for the night, 11 out of 14 in the faceoff circle. And Kotkaniemi won like 2 or 3 faceoffs in a row in the offensive zone. And Carolina kept getting scoring chances out of it. I said it at the beginning of the season. My feeling was at the beginning of the year, this is not what I would have done. This is what I thought would happen. I thought that push comes to shove, Rod Brindamore is going to give Jesperi Kotkaniemi the first crack at the 2C spot. And he did not. He stuck with Stankoven at the beginning, even though Logan wasn't winning many faceoffs. And while Stankoven has gotten better, and maybe circumstances are driving us to this point, I did wonder if this experiment was going to last all year long. But it lasted long enough where Rod believes that Stankoven is a center, and he said it after the game. He is a center. He will be a center again, maybe even this year when Jarvis comes back. But I will just say it this way. I think Jesperi Kotkaniemi will have a lot to say about that. Because the KK who played tonight and played nearly 14 minutes is the KK that should play more. That guy, winning faceoffs, being direct, being physical, all of that. And I think the more he plays and the more comfortable he gets and the more confidence he gets, I think we'll start to see him release the shot a little bit quicker. I think KK is still being too sure of things, and maybe that's okay. And I thought Carolina was a little bit that way all night anyway as a group. Just a little bit too much dust off. All right, let's go. Come on. You don't have time. You don't have time to wait. Stankoven waited out a couple of shots and lost the shooting late. KK did too. You have to be able to release the shot quicker. It's much more important to get the shot out quickly than it is to put even a little bit of extra mustard on it. Because the speed with which you release the shot will make up for how hard it isn't, if you understand what I'm talking about. But I loved the way Robinson made the Aho Svechnikov line go. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with Jankowski, Hall, and Stankoven. That's a line that can score. It's the beauty of Carolina's lineup. The fourth line is a scoring line. It should be. And I believe that'll do it for us. That was a fun game to watch, a fun game to win. And now we'll see if Carolina can do it tomorrow in Pittsburgh with Frederick Anderson in net. Should be pretty fun. All right. We are brought to you by the Aluminum Company of North Carolina. If it is for the exterior of your home, you can find it at the Aluminum Company of North Carolina on Hamlin Road in Durham. No place like it. Sammy Hanna and his crew do a great job. You should check them out for all of your home exterior improvement needs. That sentence structure was terrible, but Aluminum Company of North Carolina is not. Until after Tuesday's game against the Pittsburgh Penguins. I am Adam Gold. This has been the Canes Corner Podcast. Give us a rating, a review, subscribe. Shows up in your feed automatically so you know we're doing it live on YouTube. We do it on YouTube after every game. You should join us, and then you could get shouted out like Mikhailov out in Adelaide Hills, where I believe the daytime temperature is somewhere in the neighborhood of, I don't even know. I'll say 30 degrees Celsius or centigrade. I don't know. Good night.